Good evening, Bournemouth fans. Hope you are doing well this Thursday evening. At the weekend, AFC Bournemouth make the journey all the way up to Middlesbrough to face a side where we've always had a few ding-dongs with them. At home, we've usually won, and away, we usually lose. Should be an interesting match. But to help me preview it today, we have got Morgan Scott. Morgan, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Back to winning ways.
Back to winning ways. And, we talked about the Carabao Cup on different videos, but, from your perspective, you haven't spoke about it on the podcast. What did you think of that match against Crystal Palace, Morgan?
Well, I was kind of thinking, am I going to pay £10 to watch it? And that might sound kind of a bit cheesy, being a Bournemouth fan, but no, I watched it. It was fantastic. Very entertaining. And, you had the fantastic penalties at the end. So, to be honest with you, it's a shame we didn't win it in normal time because, that penalty shootout could have gone either way. But no, the penalties were spot on and, we won 2 games from 2. So looking forward to the weekend.
And it's good for momentum, isn't it? Now, previously in cup tournaments under Eddie, we've sort of almost paid them lip service in the press conference by saying how much we regard them as being important to win, yet we've never actually put in the performances. Whereas I thought over 90 minutes, we were the better side. Arguably, we should have won 1-0 anyway because Sam Surridge's strike was onside easily.
Where's VAR when you need it?
Where's VAR when you need it? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have it back, but it was obvious.
I looked straight over to the liner and then we saw it was offside. But I remember a game without VAR at the Vitality. I think it's against West Ham on Boxing Day one year. I'm pretty sure it was anyway. And the referee, Bobby Madley, went over to his assistant referee because the assistant flagged for offside. And then Bobby went over and then had a chat with him and he gave the goal. So why... And I have seen that in the Championship before. So why the referee Stroud didn't go over to the referee's assistant to have a quick word or to have a little chat, I don't know. It was clearly onside. I saw within minutes it was onside from Twitter and stuff. But that's when VAR could have maybe helped us out.
No matter what you say, the fans have an impact. And if you've got 3,000 fans in the main stand and obviously people opposite like in the east stand that can both see clearly that it was offside, if they're in complete sort of uproar about it, the players haven't really got a chance to protest because there's no one there to sort of validate what they think. I mean, yeah, it was onside. Maybe that conversation would have happened, but as it is, it didn't matter. But I mean, it was a good strike.
No, it didn't. It was a fantastic strike, but why there wasn't a conversation between the officials? Maybe I did notice the player didn't really protest, so maybe they're playing to the whistle, which is what they've been told to do, and that's good for the game for sportsmanship. But if I'm a player on that pitch, I want to know why that hasn't been given. I want an explanation to why that decision hasn't been given because you could clearly see that was onside, and luckily that decision probably won't be the most important, but if that was a league game and that defined us going back to the Premier League or keep us back in the Championship, they're the decisions. And we talk about referees week after week. We talk about VAR. They're going over. I know we haven't got it this season, but they're now going over to the monitor. Now that would have helped us this season if we were in the Prem. So, but let's not talk too much into. We got the result after an intense penalty shootout, and maybe you talk about having fans there for the onside decision. Yeah, that would have been fantastic. But I don't think that penalty shootout would have been so fantastic if there were all of us behind them.
Well, no, that's true because, a lot of pressure that the players feel are because of the fans that are behind the goal. And you got to say it was a fantastic display of penalties from our outfield players, not so much our goalkeeper who Hennessy easily saved it, but some really good penalties. I mean, worst of them was probably Zamura's that just crept in, but other than that, it was a great display of strikes there. And then during the 90 minutes, there were a number of positive performances, not least from Zamura. A lot of players played very well, but Harry Arter was back. So before we talk about Boro, briefly want your thoughts on him, Morgan.
Harry Arter, yeah, really, really lovely guy. Met him a handful of times. I think Harry Arter's fantastic. He set up his own academy that Simon Francis took over not so long ago when Harry went out on loan. But now Harry Arter, it's really nice to see him back in the Bournemouth shirt. I thought he did I think he played just over 80 minutes. And I thought he had a really, really good game, demanding the ball, putting the challenger in. I think the referee even told him to like at one point, I'm going to book you your next tackle. I like that from Hay. I missed that in Bournemouth. He just wants to. He had a go at one of the other players. I like that. He's passionate about what he does, and I think before we came on air, Sam, I think if we could keep him. It's like a new signing, he's been away. Yes, okay, we're not buying him, but he's coming back into the mix. And the boys know him. A lot of the guys know him. And I think he would do really well, especially with the squad that we got, because it kind of concerns me that we still haven't made any signings.
Yeah, so Boro ahead at the weekend then, and we also managed to catch a few words with Jeff Hayward. Now, we've got a bit of momentum. We've had 3 wins in a row, albeit one of them was a friendly, but a really good performance against Crystal Palace over the 90 minutes, I think. It was a tough match against Blackburn, but we came out on the positive side of the result there. And I think that we could have probably gone up a gear. And I asked Jeff a little bit earlier in the week, I said, you'd take a 3-2, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. I think it's going to be a tough game. So what do we know about Middlesbrough? They are a team that underperformed last season. They've now got Neil Warnock in charge, and we all know what Neil Warnock is like. He gets his teams playing assertive football, I think it'd be fair to say, not dissimilar to the way that Blackburn played in the first half against us. We can expect plenty of that. I thought they were actually, quality-wise, they were a bit disappointing against Watford. Neither side were particularly great, and I thought that Middlesbrough had one shot really that threatened the goal in the entire match, which wasn't good enough for the players that they actually have. But they are going to be at us. They're going to be aggressive, and we will need to prove that we are the better team, both physically and in terms of the skills that we possess.
So that was Jeff Hayward earlier in the week, and we'll get his views on the fact that fans, whether fans will have an effect this season. But Morgan, you've been tracking a little bit of Boro in terms of their results this season, and what have you thought from what you've seen there?
So yeah, before we came on air, I just had a little look online on some of the Boro results, and I saw them on the opening day of the football season over 2 weeks ago. Away to a very strong Watford side. They had chances, don't get me wrong, but from what I saw, I wasn't so impressed. And I think on the back of what we are doing at the moment with the momentum, we got the Betway Cup. Yes, it was only a friendly, but it's still silverware. And then I thought the game against Blackburn, okay, we could have. Some people could say we're lucky. I thought we deserved to win by more than what we did. And then Tuesday night's game against Crystal Palace, I thought that was absolutely. I thought the performance in itself was fantastic, and the fact that we didn't get too cocky with our penalties or try any of the you got Jamie Vardy and people like that trying really cool penalties. Jorginho's another one that comes to mind, but they were good clear penalties, and we deserve our place against City. And I think the way we're going at the moment, but it seems like Bournemouth don't want to kind of veer away from anything. I think they're going to the Man City game full of confidence, especially on the back of this Boro game if we get a result at the Riverside Stadium. Yeah, but looking at the Middlesbrough results, so they played 2 cup ties against Shrewsbury Town and against Barnsley not so long ago, and the results were 4-3 at Shrewsbury's to get them through, and then they played Barnsley a few days ago and they lost 2-0, and obviously they lost their opening day against Watford. So on the back of that going in, I think we got a huge amount of confidence going into the weekend's fixture.
Yeah, I think so. Now it's going to be interesting for Boro because it has been announced that Neil Warnock has tested positive for COVID, therefore will not be on the touchline. And given the fact that it's supposed to be isolating for 2 weeks, he won't be for 2 weeks. Now that's probably a few fixtures for them, and he's a manager that is very interesting. I think he's always been around the sort of second tier. He worked wonders with Cardiff. a couple of seasons ago and you got them promoted. He's got a very unique style, both in the football and also the management style as well. And I think he'll be deploying something very similar for Middlesbrough this season. I don't think they'll be, contesting, but I think their fans would be more than happy to have a much better finish than last season. What was it, 17th, I think they finished. And for a team like that, you really should be expecting top half.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think Neil Warnock. I remember when he a game against, I think it was when he was manager of Cardiff, and I think it was against some Chelsea side or something. And I remember him going onto the pitch at the end, and he was absolutely furious with the referee. I think he stood there with his arms folded like that and was just staring at him for like 5 minutes. And then I think he had a word with him. But I like Neil Warnock. I think he's quite old. I think he's 65, 70 years of age. But what does concern me, and we were mentioning it before we came on air, Sam, is that, is this game safe to go ahead? You talk about a lockdown area in the northeast, and then we look at things like Neil Warnock's obviously in isolation now, but I'm sure he's been in contact with other staff and players, and them staff and players are probably going to come into contact with our staff and players. Now, is it safe to go ahead? Do they need to test their players before we have a game?
Well, exactly. Now, I understand through just some brief exchanges with Chris Temple earlier today that in the Premier League, it's organised by the Premier League and it's paid for by the Premier League. Whereas in the EFL, it is at the discretion of clubs and is only mandatory when a person shows any symptoms. But with each test costing between about 100 and 150 quid, prior to matches, and that you can get a sense that lower down the pyramid, most clubs simply won't be able to afford it. So you just wonder now, if these kind of tests they are being responsible from their own club rather than from the EFL, how rigorous is their testing? And as a result of that, will the other players get tested? What if one of them's got it and then plays on the field on Saturday? What if that transfers to our squad? It's absolutely scary. And it just seems bizarre this weekend, more than most, that we've got this story intermingled with the local area lockdown in the northeast. Yet there are 1,000 fans that are going to be entering the stadium at the weekend as well in this kind of test event. To me, seems a bit nonsensical, and I just really hope for the health of anyone's players. Don't really care about what happens on the pitch. I just hope that there is no COVID present at the Riverside and they've got everything in place to make sure the players can be as safe as possible.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. I don't want anyone to get the virus. Obviously, I think the only Bournemouth player previously was Aaron Ramsdale, and that he was back in training within a few days. So but I think that definitely what we were saying about the Middlesbrough players and staff getting a test, I think that's really important. And if that can't happen, then the game should be abandoned and played at a later date. And I don't know where we're going to fit it in, but we will. To be honest with you, why the 1,000 fans ago, and I think now Warnock's been positive, I think that should be cancelled. I'm very. It's going to be it's Thursday evening, and it's only 48 hours before game day.
Yeah, you can get the test results in 24 hours, so it's imperative. So
they need to kind of
stuff needs to happen today.
Of course it does.
It needed to, yeah.
Well, it needs to hurry up. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're sat here now, and it's like, when are they? I can't remember a game apart from, I think it was due to the storm last season. I think it was the West Ham Man City game, where that got cancelled quite at short notice. But I can't see the EFL kind of getting rid of this, if I'm honest. I can't, and it's kind of like, what annoys me about it is, yes, okay, then players might have it, but then what are we going to do? Give it to our players, and then our players are going to give it to the Man City players, and then what are we going to do? Have all this no football again? And that's absolutely insane. We could tell from last season when all clubs came back, and even through the Nation League, I saw the internationals. I thought that was a shamble. The first games, I thought everyone's still a bit rusty. It's going to take time. Players haven't had enough time off. And psychologically, I just don't think this is the correct decision. If I had it my way, they either need a test or the game goes and doesn't go ahead.
Yeah, I think I think it should be organised by the EFL, and they are basically in control of the league, so they need to provide the assurances, because basically you're sort of relying on teams doing the right thing, and some people haven't got the money for it. But yeah, in terms of the 1,000 people that are going to be at the Riverside Stadium, it should be an interesting one. Now, before this was announced, me and Jeff were talking about this whole, behind closed doors thing. And maybe, just maybe, it could be an advantage for AFC Bournemouth this season. I think Project Restart was a funny old time for AFC Bournemouth, because you have no home advantage, seemingly, in terms of the fans. And we didn't particularly play well. Apart from maybe that second half in the Leicester game. We had spells against Southampton in the first half where we didn't actually score, and then against Everton I thought we were pretty good, but they were pretty poor. I think this season maybe it's going to be slightly easier going to places like Boro, because they can be loud up there, and I don't know what it holds, about 32,000 at the Riverside, and I'm sure that they get a number of people in. It's it's usually more full than not, and maybe this is the kind of fixture where we can really impose ourselves on a team like Middlesbrough, whereas usually it would be the other way around and they'd take the game to us. But maybe the tables can be turned without the fans to G up the home side.
I agree. I think that trip away, it's a long trip, which in itself presents issues, that doing that trip is difficult to then motivate yourself to actually put in a great performance after travelling such a distance in front of their fans. A Warnock enthused support will he's great at getting the crowd behind his teams, and it will play to our advantage. It'll be quite a dispassionate fixture where if they do try to kick us off the park, the referee, unlike the referee last Saturday, will actually, book a couple of players, hopefully, and stamp it out. So, there's that sort of inbuilt fairness you get when you don't have 32,000 supporters screaming blue murder at you.
And you just wonder, I mean, it's very early, very, very early for me to say this now, September, the season finishes late May, but depending on where we finish, you can maybe come back to this conversation, but this probably provides us with a better chance of getting promoted than what it would with fans in the stadiums, because we are, I think, 23rd. I think only Wycombe, maybe Luton as well, so maybe 22nd in the Championship in terms of stadium capacities, but there are some absolute huge venues there, including sort of Hillsborough, 39,500, where they would make such a difference. And a lot of those places as well, those cities live for football. And for Bournemouth, I wouldn't say we're wishy-washy, but it's a tourist town, and it's not one where we live and breathe football all the week. We go down the beach, we relax, and we turn up to watch Bournemouth in our sort of leisure time, really. We're not hardened football fans, whereas they are up there, and they're so passionate and they're vocal. And you sort of think, maybe this could be good for Bournemouth, having it more even, and maybe we could get a result up there. Time will tell, won't it?
Yeah, totally agree. We've got a real opportunity, I think, to get some results when the stadiums are closed. Going to some of these big places without the fans in there will help us. And say what you like, playing in front of your home fans. I mean, we know what it's like when we do get behind the team. It makes a difference to the players. The players feel it, and sides like Middlesbrough, sides like Wednesday, sides like Forest, sides like Derby, if they're playing in front of no fans and we're playing against them, I think that evens it out for us, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt.
So yeah, interesting debate, but there will be 1,000 fans there at the stadium on Saturday. And Morgan, let's turn our attention to the actual football match itself rather than the logistics that surround it. There's a player that I am wondering about, and that's Josh King. What's happening with him? Because he's been out with Knox. Whether to believe it or not, I don't know. And is he a player that could feature at all this season? Because there doesn't seem to be any interest from any clubs at the moment.
To be honest with you, I'm a little bit skeptical. it kind of reminds me a bit like the Ryan Fraser situation. You know, I don't want to read into it. Josh King, if he wants to go, he can go. You know, fair play to him. He's done us well. But I don't understand what Bournemouth were trying to achieve. Now, it was mentioned in Sam, I don't know if you've seen it, but in Jason Tyndall, he was asked about 3 players, which were Afc Bournemouth against the Palace game, Harry Arter and Josh King. And I don't know if it was an audio glitch, but from what I saw when I was watching it, he didn't answer the question. Now, it was rumoured and then got confirmed that Afc Bournemouth had a dead leg going into the Palace game. But if I'm Josh King now, you know, so a few facts. He didn't report for pre-season training. He then got extended time confirmed by the club to go to stay with his country in Norway. We just had a brief chat. He's now back in the country. I haven't seen anything to rumour that he's back in training or seen anything. So 48 hours before the game, you know, they're going to have to travel up tomorrow, you know, long journey. I assume they'll travel up tomorrow due to, I don't know with COVID anymore, but it's looking, to be honest with you, it's only a matter of time, you know. If he doesn't feature against Boro, then I think it's clear. I looked at one other thing, his squad number, 27. You know, that's quite, you know, he's changed from 17 the season before to 7 that now Brooks has got to now 27. To me, so that
speaks volumes, doesn't it?
That's kind of the icing on the cake, if I'm honest with you. Now, until I get the official confirmation, I'm not going to say he's going because we don't know that, but it's looking more and more likely by the day.
So if he doesn't feature for AFC Bournemouth in the next few weeks, how is this situation any different to Ryan Fraser?
It isn't.
Probably worse because he is under contract, whereas Ryan Fraser wasn't. I know they were in exceptional circumstances, and you know you can ask Simon Jordan what he thinks about Ryan Fraser, I'm sure. But how would it be different? Do you think he would play? Because surely if he's playing and he's doing well in the Championship, he keeps himself fit and also he gets himself noticed by suitors rather than, I don't know what he would do, you know, pop down Whitecliffe and do some runs on the field. I don't know.
That's quite funny. I think he's having a bit of a sulk, if I'm honest. I really do. I think he's, without sounding to be horrible to the guy, I think he's had a bit of a sulk. Oh, we're not in the Prem anymore. I'm too good for the Championship. So for whatever reason, and I don't know, but in my opinion, I think that and I don't know why he has been allowed to kind of get away with it. We're not turning up for pre-season, being extended time away with his national team, you know, getting injured over there, having a dodgy ankle, all this kind of stuff. It's all a little bit worse than the Ryan Fraser situation. I think he needs to kind of man up a little bit and say to JT and that, I'm not going to play for you. I'm not going to feature. I can train away from the squad while I'm under contract or get me another club kind of thing. Now, I know it's not as simple as that, but we could bring in another striker who wants to be there and have a bit of profit. You know, I'm surprised that we still haven't, you know, we've still got 80 million quid in the pocket. Now, I know we're going to need that throughout the Championship season, but why we haven't bought in another signing anyway. But I don't kind of want to keep talking about the Josh King situation because it just seems like we're here now. Another one that's popped up in my head, if you don't mind me mentioning, is David Brooks, linked to Spurs and Leicester, £50 million. I don't think he is going to go. Why would he go? Because, you know, I look at Leicester's squad, I look at Tottenham's squad, and I think he wouldn't start for them. But
well, certainly if Gareth Bale's coming back to Spurs.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
No way.
And I think the thing with David Brooks, and I think we saw the best. I saw a match sharp David Brooks at Palace. I thought he was so much better. The commentary said that he was back to full fitness, and I think he looked absolutely. I think he's had a shaky game against Blackburn. He didn't do much when he came on, to be honest. But I think he's back to his best. And if he can stay fit, he'll be the key for us this season.
Okay, so what we're going to do then is we'll go through your chosen 11 for this particular fixture, Morgan. It's all over to you to decide. And I suppose the first question, the goalie, is actually quite interesting because, you know, Begovic, he did all right against Palace, but will he give Travers the nod, go for youth rather than experience? What do you think?
It's a difficult one. You know, Travers had that difficult game against Blackburn, he should have saved it. Everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes. He's only a young keeper. He's an international. Begovic mucked up his penalty, but won the game for us against Man City. We'll see what that does. I'm going to be a bit sceptical here.
Yeah.
I would like to see... We've seen all three keepers. So, we had that other guy, Archer, I think his name was.
Yes,
that
that's
started
right,
against West Ham. Now, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he's been... he was only a trial list and he's no longer part of AFC Bournemouth. So right. I now look at my other... the other keeper that Bournemouth have got. Give Will Dennis a shot and give him a quick go. Because, so we've seen Begovic, we've seen Travers, and that isn't to be horrible to Travers, but that's to show that you're playing at the best of you. That's to show that you're in a decent league. You're not in the Prem, but
in this fixture, Will Dennis, I can't see it happening. Cannot. It's going to be Travers. I think.
We'll go with.
I'm going to overrule you on the goalkeeper, but elsewhere I'll let you have your say. But
we'll go Travers.
I would like Will Dennis because I've seen him play numerous times, and I'd like to have him, sort of upgraded to the first team for a number of games this season, and maybe that match at Man City could be one for him. Just why not? Chuck him into a cauldron, albeit the fans won't be in there.
I think, I do agree. Being realistic, we'll go with Travers. I just wanted to be a bit more spectacle, like I am, and then we'll go with a back three. I think. Depending on a few players, I think Steve Cook, if he's fit, fit, which I think he's going to be. So I'll go Steve Cook in the middle.
Yeah. Then, do you think it's going to be a case of Kelly and Mepham, or do you think that Rico could be potentially involved?
It depends on his injury. I haven't seen. It's going to be, we'll see if he's fit from JT in the morning. So I would assume we would go with Kelly on the left side of Cook, and then on the right side, I would go Chris Mepham.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm on board with that. I think, the only other thing that I could think of is that, maybe if Rico was back, he could, fit on that left and then push Kelly and Cook across. But, Mepham's done all right. Then, of course, the 3-4-3 will be deployed. And would it change? I mean, Lewis Cook played a lot of minutes. Did he play the whole game or? Well,
he played 75 to 80 minutes and he played the Blackburn game. So I would rest Cookie.
Okay. So, but Lerma's going to start though, right?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that mean? Are you thinking someone like Dan Gosling alongside him?
Harry Arter. To be honest with you, I thought his performance against Palace.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
If Harry Arter's if Harry Arter's got the attitude that he wants to stay, and obviously, he wouldn't have just played that game the other day if he didn't want to. So why not throw Harry Arter into the mix with Lerma? I think they would work really well together.
Do you think they're too similar though?
Only on the type that they might both get sent off. That's the only thing I could think about. If Lerma but the decent thing about having them is they both make a tactical foul each, and in the Championship that's what you got to do. So put Harry Arter into the mix with Lerma in the middle.
Am I putting them on there? Am I doing it?
Go on. I think we should.
I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it will happen.
But I don't know what other option we got, because I wouldn't play Dan Gosling because I think he's too slow.
Well, that's what I think he will do, though. Because, I mean, Harry Arter played, pretty much the full game. And he's being, I just don't, the
only other candidate I can think is Philip Billen, and he just
I don't.
He just doesn't offer. It's a shaky one in the middle. I'll
let you pick, but I don't think it's going to be Harry Arter, because of his situation. I don't think it'll be Harry.
I hate to say it. Should we go with Philip Billen? Because I reckon he's... I don't... even Steve Henson said on Twitter, he said, he's not done too bad tonight. I kind of had to, okay.
Okay, so, and then on the, your right side, surely...
Stacey.
Yeah. I mean, is he going to be knackered?
No, he got taken off. He's got if he wants that shirt every week, he's got to be fit. It's brutal in the Championship, but he came out. They took him off early, which he hasn't played. 2 games a week, standard. Standard footballer. And then on the left, I imagine would be Smudge Adam Smith to clear that up for anyone who doesn't know his nickname by now. But I imagine, but then he's better on the right. So
who's that, Smith? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you're going to say exactly what I'm about to say. Yeah.
So
if they wanted to rest like Stacey, then they've got options there, haven't they?
Yeah. So you could either say Smudge or Stacey on the right, depending on Rico's availability. Either play him in the back three, but in my opinion, he would be better on the left fullback role as an ideal wing back rather than a fullback these days.
He's got a lot of energy and he can bomb up and down the pitch.
He drives up and down. So
and a good crosser of the ball as well.
Yeah. So I would maybe take, depending on his availability, I would play, put Rico in on the left side, if that's okay, Sam, and then maybe take Stacey out, and then put Smudge back or Adam Smith back onto his preferred side. Now that's I'm not sure everyone's going to agree with me. And then top 3, this is where it gets a bit tough.
Well, I mean. I must say that I've gone for the default 3-4-3, but will it be a case of almost a 3-4-1-2, perhaps?
I like the system we played it. If you could change it to the way we played against Palace, so
Brooks floating behind.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that worked well. So if you put that number 10 position, and then that number 10, so that 10 would be Brooks. I thought he was phenomenal. I think he's back to his best. And then up top, I think
the goal machine, Dom Solanke, or would it be Sam? Yeah, I can't see it being past Dom Solanke.
I would go with Dom Solanke just because that's what most people would think, and then it's got to be I call him Magic Man, Danjuma.
Yeah.
I think and that's not being harsh on Stanislas. I think Stanislas is good, but you talk the Championship. All these players throughout the season are going to miss games, and that's my opinion on what I think's going to happen. Danjuma and Brooks will offer the so Brooks running in behind, making things happen. He linked up very well with Sam Surridge. I reckon he could do the same to Solanke. Solanke's unselfish. He could let it back to Brooks. Brooks has got a fantastic strike on him. We know that. Danjuma was scoring worldies from all over the place. So that's my prediction against Boro. And why not? This team hasn't failed us yet. Jason Tyndall's Barmy Army.
And you know what? I think the performance in the Cup was positive for a number of reasons, not least because players like Zamora show that they can, step up. I thought Jack Simpson had a really good game. Of course, we had the Jack Simpson interview on the channel that was from your Instagram. So if you want to watch that, the card's at the top of the screen. And do see Morgan interviewing a current AFC Bournemouth defensive star. I think sometimes he gets derided because of the individual mistakes that he makes. A lot of people think back to that Liverpool thing, but in the grand scheme of things, he's been used in some big games for AFC Bournemouth. And on the whole, he has stepped up. He's still learning, but he looked one of the most experienced defenders there.
He did.
Against
and
Palace.
I sent him a message after the game and I said, great penalty, and he liked it. But no, the youngster delivered great penalties. I wasn't so sure when, not being horrible, but it's pressure in a penalty shootout. And I thought what helped is we talk about having crowds back to football. I thought that penalty shootout was better without it, if I'm honest with you. That penalty shootout with fans, that's nervous. So, we got full of confidence. We got a great squad. I'm hoping we're going to sign someone. I can't see it happening. And the only Sam, what's your perception of who you reckon is going to go? Do you think we're only looking at
I think Josh King.
Yeah. And do you think anyone else?
No, I think everyone else will probably retain. I think Josh King was always one of the players that we thought would go, and he's a player that strikes me as he plays in fits and starts for Bournemouth. And if there was, I'm not saying he does this, but if there was going to be a player that maybe disrupts team harmony, I could imagine it could be him. And I wouldn't, you know what, if we got sort of 15, 20 million for him, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I would wish him all the best. But if it is going to happen, if he is going to go, I'd like it to be sooner rather than later, because I wouldn't want another scenario whereby we've got another fit player who could make a difference not play for us, because we've been there before with Ryan Fraser and we know how that turned very sour. So we'll see what happens with that. So, before we go, Morgan, I don't think we can escape without asking you for a prediction of the scoreline at the weekend. What are you thinking? Are Bournemouth going to carry on their winning run or what?
So, from what I've seen previewing this game, I reckon the Middlesbrough player, obviously, with not having their manager on the sideline, I reckon that might have a part to play that, or a preparation. Why do we always have the things, last season we had the Watford manager sat during the game, now we got this ahead of this game. It's always the Bournemouth way. Now I'm going to be optimistic as ever. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win, and I'm going to go for I'm going to call him Magic Man this season. I'm going to go for Dan Juma, and I'm going to go for Dom Solanke to get himself a goal.
Come on, Dom!
I'm not sure what the odds are on him to get him one, but I'm going to go for Magic Man Dan Juma, and I'm going to go for Dom Solanke.
I'm going to go for a 3-1, and I think Dom Solanke's going to get a couple, but I can't not see past Dan Juma scoring as well. Morgan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the preview. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks very much indeed. Up the Cherries.
And let me know your thoughts on what you think the team lineup should be. Also get your predictions in the comments below. Really appreciate you watching this video. And tomorrow we've got the Funnel Forecast with Mr. Tiggs and Tony Funnel, ex-AFC Bournemouth striking legend. We'll see what he thinks in the result, because it's part of the Super Six again this week. So if you want to make your predictions, make sure you do that now. If there's 160 people in our league, Tony Funnel is, well, we'll tell you what league position he's in tomorrow. And remember, of course, you can join us for the full-time free-for-all. That's going to be at 5 p.m. after the Boro game on the Saturday. So, do come along and have your say. It's just a case of, rocking up on your device. Make sure you got some headphones and just go to afcbpodcast.com/takeparks. We'd love your opinion on hopefully what's going to be another Cherries win. Have the Cherries.
Back in the day!